You ever get yelled at on your own porch by a stranger holding a clipboard? Because that's how this circus started for me. 1 foot on the cabin deck, and suddenly this lady screaming, "This isn't your land anymore," right in my face, like I was a trespasser in my own valley. I know, right? You work your whole life, you pay your taxes, you keep the place up even when life knocks you flat. And then you come back home just in time to watch somebody else plant a flag on your lawn and call it theirs. Yeah, that happened. Comment below, what would you do if someone pulled this stunt on you? I'd been gone 3 years. Not because I abandoned the place. Hell no, I was taking care of my mother through her last fight with cancer. But even with the dust thick on the windowsills and the squirrels staging a coup in the woodshed, my paperwork was tight, property taxes, paid insurance, up to date. See, I was a federal land inspector before I retired, so I know what abandonment actually looks like. A little dust doesn't cut it. This cabin's been in our family for generations, right in the heart of Carter Basin. Always figured I'd settle here for good once the world slowed down. But what I came home to looked like the grand opening of a suburban amusement park. Professional spotlights, wooden signs, and the queen herself, Karen Pierce, standing beside a scale model of my land with little plastic trees and tiny trail signs. She had on this crisp navy blazer, hair done up leather portfolio, clutched tight like she was about to sell timeshares to the squirrels. Last I saw Karen, she was just another neighbor, maybe a little uptight about the grass. Now she was the self-anointed president of the HOA, and every word out of her mouth dripped with that corporate seminar confidence. "We're unveiling the Greenway Neighborhood Enhancement Project," she announced, big smile, talking to a crowd gathered on what used to be my private lawn. This space has been inactive for 3 years, which presents an opportunity for shared public benefit. If you didn't know better, you'd think she was running for office or maybe for God. But I know when someone's dressing up theft in pretty words. She talked about neglected parcels and quality of life standards, like my home was dragging down the stock price of the entire neighborhood. All I could hear was, "We want what you've got and we're taking it." So I didn't bother arguing. I just walked over, picked up their little boundary markers, the ones they'd stuck right through my flower beds, and carried them across the street. Set each one down on Karen's front porch, slow and deliberate, like I was returning her Tupperware. The look on her face, oh man, that cracked right through the boardroom act. She lost it, yelling, "You can't move neighborhood planning materials. This property's been abandoned. We have emergency protocols." And that's when Riley Moore stepped in. Riley's an attorney, moved in maybe a year before I left, and she has this calm way of talking that cuts through the noise. "HOAs don't have eminent domain," she said. "Abandonment is a legal process. If land gets seized, it reverts to the county, not to an HOA, and definitely not to Karen Pierce." You could feel the temperature drop 10 degrees. The neighbors started whispering, and suddenly Karen wasn't as sure of herself. That's when I noticed something sticking out from the leaves at my feet, an old granite marker, all weathered and carved up. Federal Land Survey, as in the real deal government issue predating half the houses in the neighborhood. Louise Harper, who's lived here longer than anyone, shuffled over and said, "That marker's older than the HOA, older than the houses. It's from the original railroad mapping." Riley knelt down, reading the worn symbols. "If this marker sets the boundary, your HOA's claim just went up in smoke," she told Karen, whose face had turned 3 shades paler than her blouse. Noah Grant, the HOA's estate manager, finally piped up, voice shaking, "Maybe we should revisit the project timeline, Karen. Translation legal troubles coming." As they packed up their little display in a hurry, I had this gut feeling there was more to Karen's bravado than just neighborhood pride. That marker had rattled her, and not because she was wrong, because she knew exactly how wrong she was. Next day, Riley and I went to the county records office, Karen in tow, each of us lugging a pile of documents. She came armed with boxes labeled Community Planning Archives. I brought the deed, some photos, and my experience. The title examiner, James Mitchell, listened to her pitch about enhanced control and neighborhood growth initiatives, but when I showed him the survey marker, his eyes lit up. This, he said, changes everything. Turns out my family's original land grant included mineral rights, water access, easement approval, the works. Nearly 400 acres never legally transferred. Karen's face just about crumpled. She started waving papers, muttering about collective enhancement and 15 years of precedent, but James stopped her cold. "We'll need to validate these," he said. "If your memo's not authentic, that's fraud." For a second, I thought Karen was going to faint. Even Noah was sweating. We left with no resolution, but it was clear Karen's empire was built on sand. She didn't back down. Oh no, she changed tactics. Within 2 days, she hit every house with cookies, coffee, and a story. I was the villain, the absentee landowner threatening the community. Folks who'd smiled at me on walks now looked away or grumbled about outsiders. She called a secret neighborhood safety meeting, everyone invited but me. Riley showed me the agenda, protecting our community from threats to outdoor spaces. Classic. When I showed up anyway, the room was theater-style. Karen at the podium with graphs, family photos, maps of shared resources. Tom Bradley, a contractor, looked like he'd swallowed a frog. Then came the twist. Tom cracked under pressure. Karen tried to shut him up, but he admitted she'd pressured him to forge paperwork on trail use. I hit record on my phone. Tom showed his messages. The room exploded, some folks angry, some defending Karen, others just confused. Riley stepped in cool as ever. If these threats are real, that's serious manipulation. Louise Harper spoke up, voice shaking but strong. This land was always Carter land. These aren't technicalities. There's someone trying to take what doesn't belong to them. The room split right down the middle. Loyalists on one side, the rest waking up to the truth. Karen doubled down, sending out official-looking notices warning about damages to land value. She even cooked up smear pieces on a fake news site, Valley Collective News, which after a little digging turned out to be nothing but a mail drop and a copy-paste hatchet job for hire. Riley filed a state bar complaint. I called a meeting and let the neighbors see just how deep Karen's scam went. That's when it broke open. Residents realized Karen was pocketing referral fees from every HOA dispute, and each fake article was a shakedown. Tom admitted he'd lost sleep over threats that weren't even real. Sarah Mills described how Karen threatened her tax assessment if she didn't toe the line. Outrage replaced fear. Instead of folding, the neighborhood started documenting, sharing, and fighting back. And then the cherry on top, Karen sent 2 guys in official uniforms to my house claiming to be from Regional Environmental Compliance and Valley Fire Safety. They threw around jargon, waved fake forms, tried to scare me into submission. But I'd seen too many real inspections to be fooled. When Riley showed up and grilled them on their credentials, they folded like a cheap lawn chair. Not a single state or federal record of those groups, nothing but air. Louise Harper brought out old fire maps, and county inspectors confirmed everything. Our property had always been the valley's emergency route. The environmental violations Karen claimed didn't exist. Her fake inspection backfired, exposing her to even more legal heat, impersonating officials, fraud by mail, you name it. Her desperation grew. She started erasing files, intimidating witnesses. Tom got a bribe offer, Sarah a refund if she'd just stay quiet. But by then, the whole neighborhood was wise. People recorded everything, preserved every file. The prosecutor moved in witness tampering, obstruction, document destruction. It was all on the table. When investigators traced the scam across 20 communities in a dozen states, the feds took over. Noah Grant flipped, turned over crisis protocol notes, showed how Karen orchestrated every lie. Real estate licenses gone, consulting contracts shredded, and all the so-called credentials she used as cover, now just evidence. Restitution came in the form of asset seizures, refunds, and permanent bans on Karen and her crew from any management roles. The real closure, though, came when the Valley put up a new sign, Carter Basin Protected Watershed, right beside the old survey marker. We kept our hiking trails, but this time with real legal oversight, open books, and environmental protections. The neighbors learned to question, to verify, to stand together. Even the officials said our case would become a model for fighting HOA abuse nationwide. Funny thing, when power collapses, it doesn't make a sound. It just disappears, leaving behind the people who stood their ground and the stories that remind others to do the same. I walk past that old marker every morning now. Autumn sun shining through, neighbors waving again, trust, rebuilding one honest conversation at a time. So tell me, was there a moment in this whole mess that hit you hardest? Drop your thoughts below, maybe your own HOA war story or what you think real justice looks like. If you made it this far, give this story a share. And if you think I'm getting better at telling them, toss a compliment my way. Guard your land, your voice, and your story. They're always worth protecting.